Hey, so my speech today is going to consist of responses to things that he said and then building up my case. So he said that it benefits animals, but why do they need this treatment in the first place? A lot of times we have to treat them for diseases that we give them. Like in the case of dog food, many times it contains a preservative BHA, which is highly carcinogenic. So now we have to test on them to treat them for the cancer we gave them. Humans don't know what's best for animals. We're just addicted to controlling their lives, and we justify it through the speciesist mindset. If we were to stop messing with them, maybe they wouldn't have these problems. And does that mean that it's okay to test on humans? Like during the Holocaust, there were some scientific advancements made by the Germans with this kind of testing. Does that justify the kind of atrocities they did? He still needs to prove like why animals and humans should be a distinction between them. And he says that some random groups in the UK determined that it was scientifically sound for human use. What does that mean? Anything could be deemed scientific, but that doesn't make it good. And it yielded great results because they probably tested a billion animals, and they're bound to get some progress in some aspect, and it doesn't mean that it's significant. And these are groups of humans that are saying it's okay to torture another species for their own use. That doesn't seem awfully convincing. As long as we still see animals as less than us, we will never be able to make any kind of evaluative statement or judgment as to the cost benefit analysis because animals are always excluded from this kind of framework. And he said that there's 71 Nobel Prizes awarded to scientists who use animals, but we reward torturing animals. I'm not really surprised. We the species mindset is like the cause for that. And he then went on to try and compare humans and animals by saying if there was a human drowning and a rat drowning, who would you save? I think this is a highly reductive way to look at it, and the majority of people would save a human, and that's just evidence of the status quo species mindset. It doesn't prove anything, and he gives human worth and value justifying saving it over a rat because humans have more power over the animal, and I think that this is pretty messed up. We see this hierarchical system emerge when we save those who have most power and who look like us. I would probably try to save them both, or at least try and give them both equal consideration. Just because a rat chooses to conduct its life differently than a human does not mean it has less value. Difference is not a justification for violence, and I don't think it should be equated with worth. I give him a counterexample. If a poor person and a rich person were drowning, who would you save? Or a male and a female? Based on his answers to his own question, we should always save the person who has the most rights and power. So we should ultimately save the rich person as well as the male, or risk contradicting himself. And I think that's a pretty messed up way to look at things. So he admits his speciesism when he says that he values human life over the life of a rat, but he has no response to how his species mindset is a root cause of human-based oppression. So that sounds it stands in the round and it's pretty damning. And he didn't give a good reason why forcefully testing on animals and humans are principally different. Within the human world, the same logic of domination, using difference that we use to justify violence against animals, is brought into the human sphere when we attribute darker skin or different facial features or even different sex to not being like us or other, and then we justify violence onto that group. The example I gave was assigning groups of people and animal characteristics to justify torture that we do to them. If we were to bring animals up to the level of humans, giving someone animal characteristics would no longer justify hurting them. And what's more, we wouldn't be able to justify hurting animals. Without this equality, you see things happen like sexist principles, genocide, colonialism, just to name a few. And it probably ends up killing more people than animal testing would save. And this is ultimately why you're going to vote for the proposition. And it's not like the cures can't happen in the proposition world. My alternative of elective human testing still ensures that science can flourish. And for all these reasons, I am proud to